Welcome to a sparkling new podcast from Mike Parry and Mike Graham. We're the two Mikes.
Actually, it sounds even better when you do it Dullsville, because when you try to be happy and excited and energetic, you sound pathetic.
Thanks.
Meatballs, eat them plenty. They are tasty and Svenny likes them. Cats do not want to be friends with humans. Cats want to dominate humans. Hair doesn't have a gender, does it? Hair is hair. I don't like being portrayed as an idiot.
You drink any old rubbish. Your palate is like a dustbin. This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes, and it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Yeah, very good morning, Mike. Good to be with you again.
Yeah.
I have to say that a lot of the day's been consumed with me thinking about Karen Brady.
Has it?
And her talk on the Alan Brazil Breakfast Show this morning.
Yeah, very interesting, wasn't it?
Of which, of course, I took part because
you took part in it?
I was doing the paper reviews.
Oh, right, okay.
You see what I mean?
Yes, I heard you doing that.
So I was
yeah.
an integral part of the show.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd remind people of that.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Quite important.
Well, yeah,
to know.
very important. Yeah, you might as well big yourself up at the beginning.
Well, absolutely.
Actually,
yeah.
I've got to start the show off with a bit of a sour note. Actually, I've got this.
I haven't explained to you.
Oh, hang on, just hang on. Listen to this sour note.
Do I need a sour note?
No, you'll probably like it because it's a bit sour about me. Alex has tweeted, right? Hurry up and get Mike Parry on. I'm sick of listening to Mike Graham.
Well, that's very harsh.
Isn't
in
that
my
harsh?
View. It's very
That's
harsh
a terrible
in my view.
thing to say.
I think people have to understand that although I am sort of recognised as the more dominant influence, you can't. Only two can tango. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And
exactly. That's a very horrible thing to say, Alex.
It is very horrible, Alex.
Yeah.
But I mean,
shocking.
Thank God he didn't say that he's fed up of listening to me, because that to me
even
would
though
be,
you're on Breakfast Show as well.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That to me would be a black mark on my career.
It
to
would.
be perfectly honest,
it would be very, very harsh.
But getting back to young Karen Brady, who's done a marvellous job. She's a great
Baroness
businesswoman.
Brady now,
Baroness
by the
Brady.
way.
Well, to her friends, she's still Karen, to be honest. But
friend of yours, is she?
Sorry?
Friend of yours?
Oh, yeah, I know her for
Spoken
years.
to her recently?
Known her for years. Yeah, probably.
Probably?
Yeah. I mean, I don't give a diary of people I speak to.
No,
I
you don't.
speak to a lot of influential
Of course.
people. But what I'm saying is she's obviously, made her mark as a businesswoman. She's on the old Dragon's Den, isn't she, on telly?
Is she?
And isn't she?
I don't know. I don't watch it.
I thought she is.
Well, she might well be.
With Lord, she's on The Apprentice with Lord Sugar. That's
she?
right, yeah, because he introduced her into the House of Lords when she became a baroness.
Oh, okay.
When he put on the ermine for the first time. Why is it called ermine?
Well, because it's made of ermine, isn't
Well,
it?
it used to be. It's not now.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's ermine because it's an animal, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's fur.
Yeah.
So it's artificial fur now, then, is it?
It's artificial.
So what if
fur
you
now.
got an old ermine thing? Do you keep wearing that? Or do you
you'd have to go back to like 100 years or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's far too many members of the House of Lords anyway. I mean, there used to be about the same number as MPs, about 600.
Yeah.
There's now about 1,100.
Right.
And there's not enough room for them. They have red benches rather than green benches in the Commons.
Yeah.
And sometimes there aren't enough seats for all the old fat people.
Let's face it. I mean, not many of them spend a lot of time there, do they?
Who get ennobled. Did you see? I saw a story the other day about some ennobled woman. So she's a baroness or something like that, or a dame or something like that.
Yeah.
Who has claimed the daily allowance every day for the last 3 years, but never been to the House of Lords.
Yeah, marvellous, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the daily allowance is like 66 quid or something
No,
like
I think
that.
it's more like 100 and something.
Is it? Okay.
It's quite considerable.
It's 500 quid a week. That's 25 grand a year for doing nothing. I mean, it's an outrage.
It really is.
The whole thing's an outrage. But anyway, getting back to Dame Brady.
Baroness Brady.
Baroness Brady, that's right, yeah. She said in a very interesting talk with Alan and Raymondo Parlour this morning that, and she said it quite flippantly, so and I'm not criticising, but she said, we'll fill our new stadium with 54,000 seats, the third biggest in the country, every week.
Yeah.
I have to take issue with that. I don't think West Ham will.
I find it quite difficult to imagine that. I mean, I was listening to a couple of the callers earlier on the sports bar who were West Ham fans who were even themselves saying, well, you can imagine it being full for some of the big games, some of the big London derbies maybe, but when they're getting maybe visits from teams quite far away, I mean, say, for example, Bournemouth come up, West Ham at home to Bournemouth, is that going to be full? I wouldn't have thought so.
Well, I wouldn't have thought so either. She also said that, they've got a lot of hospitality lounges, it's a magnificent stadium. I accept all that.
Yeah.
She walks in, she feels a burst of pride. They've just put up the new floodlights. Each one weighs 40 tonnes, the floodlight structures and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm with all that. And she said, all our lounges have been sponsored. Well, blimey, I've been to a lot of lounges and a lot of football grounds called the Dolce Gabbana Lounge, or this, that, and the rest. It doesn't mean there's people in them, to be honest. You know, the sponsorship is just a name applied to them for a set fee.
Is that at Chelsea, the Dolce Gabbana Lounge?
Dolce Gabbana's the main one at Chelsea, absolutely, yeah. But most of the lounges at most football clubs are named after former players, you know, like there's the Jeff Hassel at West Brom, there's the Joe Mercer at Everton, which is my lounge, and, you know, the Kenny Dalglish at Anfield and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not quite sure what's going on. All I'd say is, if West Ham fill that stadium with 54,000 people every week, they will become a major force in the land.
Yes.
But I think Spurs might, because when we go to Spurs, remember, we've been to see our friend
Spurs have got quite a long list.
Look, about 20,000 waiting lists for season
people
tickets.
Waiting, I think it's more like 30,000 actually.
30,000,
but I mean, we've heard as well that West Ham have got a bit of a waiting list, but that's partly because already at the Boleyn Ground at Upton Park, a lot of the main sort of say halfway line type seats are all eaten up by corporate sponsorship.
That's absolutely right. And the other thing that Dame Brady said this morning, Baroness Brady, was I thought she sort of rambled and pontificated on the future of Sam Allardyce.
We're all going to sit down at the end of the season like we always do.
We want everybody to be happy, we want to be happy and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I think the thing is that she's clearly hugely proud of this move, A, because it's good for West Ham. They get a free ground, more or less, don't they?
Well, who wouldn't want that?
And they, you know, the co-owners, Mr. Gold, Mr. Sullen, I presumably are able to flog the existing ground for property development.
I would imagine so, yeah.
You know, so that's they've turned a pretty penny there, which is great, because we love entrepreneurial people. But when you've got all this great new stadium, 54,000 people, you know, all these new boxes and all that, you're going to get into your head the idea that, you know, you want some sort of svelte, Italian-dressed, slick-looking manager to accompany his surroundings.
Roberto Martinez.
Like Roberto
Martinez. As we spoke of the other night.
Right, like Roberto Martinez.
You poo-pooed that suggestion.
No, he won't go there.
Well, you know,
he's
say
Spanish
that.
Anyway, he's Spanish.
You say that. Well, so what? The Mediterranean doesn't touch Spain?
No. I said. Oh, sorry. I did say Italian suited. I didn't say Italian.
Suited,
you're right. Yeah. He does wear Italian suits.
He does wear Italian suits, and he wears the same colour shoes I wear.
The tan shoes. That's
right.
Shoes, But no, what I'm saying is, I'm not for woman and accusing her of evasiveness or dishonesty. What I'm saying is, it will be an evaluation at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And my view
it wasn't
is,
a ringing endorsement of we're going to keep him on, was it?
No, it wasn't. And somebody who would fit in there would be like that Roberto Mancini, the guy who left Manchester City.
Rafa Benitez has been mentioned.
Yeah, but hang on. I read somewhere today, and I don't know if it was tongue-in-cheek, that Rafa Benitez has been said by some European observers to be too fat to be...
it was the manager, I believe it was the chairman of Sampdoria, wasn't
exactly, to be the chairman of a leading club. Which is a bit harsh, really.
Well, I mean, I thought very unfair. He said that he would not hire him until he saw a dietitian.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Shocking thing to say.
He was called the fat Spanish waiter, wasn't he, by his detractors when he was on Merseyside. And I remember once I had a terrible row.
Not that you'd want to insult him.
No, I wouldn't want to insult him.
No.
I had a terrible row once with some listeners and, in fact, issued a bit of an apology.
Did you?
Because Everton were playing Liverpool on a Saturday afternoon, and I watched it at a sports bar around the corner, you know, the Doggett coat and badge.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it was a draw. It was at Anfield, and old Rafa said afterwards that smaller clubs always came to Anfield and played for a draw.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the office rang me up and asked me if I wanted to make a response to this.
Yes.
And I was angry, you know, and it was the heat of the moment.
Yes. You said the wrong thing.
I'd said the wrong thing. I insulted the Spanish nation.
Right.
Because what I said was...
Was this the thing about donkeys?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
I said I've been to Spain...
You're going to do it again now?
No, I'm going to say what I said.
Put it into context,
No,
right?
I didn't mean it, and I've withdrawn it. But what I withdrew was, I said I've been to Spain many times. In certain parts of Spain, a lot of people are still riding around on the backs of horses because they're of peasant stock with a loaf of bread under their arm.
Yeah.
And I immediately withdrew it once I was challenged because, of course, it was a terrible thing to tarnish the Scottish people with.
Naturally.
But I have actually seen that on the border between Spain and Portugal.
Have you?
We'd gone to Portugal.
See the time, by the way.
Never mind about the time. The time is just a flickering flame. We'd been to Portugal, right, for the 2004...
Was this on your epic car journey?
Yeah, that's right. We had to drive across Spain and Portugal.
And it's like the desert driving across that part of Spain.
Remote
and in fact,
of
many spaghetti westerns were filmed there because it looks like Arizona.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Burgos. Did you go through Burgos?
I don't know, but we had to test drive these Ford cars who sponsored the whole tournament for us, you know. And the point is, I saw a couple of guys on donkeys, with straw hats with holes in them, wearing shawls with a loaf of bread under their arm. I actually saw that.
They weren't filming a spaghetti
No,
western.
they weren't filming. They were
just like Mexicans.
They were Spanish peasants, and unfortunately, I branded the whole of the Spanish nation as people like that, which is very wrong, and I do apologise.
No, not to worry. Now, Paul, before we leave you for a moment, has tweeted in. He says, "Has Karen Brady got a better job than Porky?" This is a reference to you saying you never met a woman who's got a better job than you.
Oh, she's got a fantastic job.
Better job than you?
She's got several jobs, anyway. I think she's a director of 3 other companies, apart from West Ham United.
So that's a yes, then?
That's a yes,
okay.
yes.
There we are.
I've seen her house, by the way, in the Midlands.
Have you?
It is magnificent.
I'm sure it is.
It's about 10 bedrooms.
Really?
It's huge mansion.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Amazing. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham, and we are the Two Mikes. Very stirring stuff, that.
It's stirring stuff, isn't it?
So happy St George's Day to you.
And happy
You've
St.
always
George's
said to
Day.
me, when I wished you a happy St Andrew's Day
Yes.
And a happy St Patrick's Day,
Yes.
You were rather sort of mealy-mouthed about it and said, well, why would I celebrate any of those?
Yeah.
And I feel very much the same way about St George's Day, actually, because I don't feel myself as English.
No, I know you don't.
I feel myself as British,
Yeah.
and I feel myself as Scottish. I'm very happy for anyone who wants to celebrate
I mean,
St George's Day to do so.
Yeah.
Let them eat asparagus, as we would say.
Sure.
But I'm not, I'm not particularly patriotic about England.
No, I know. You come down here and you fiddle your English taxes,
No, I was born here, actually.
depriving
No,
me
I
of
was
revenues,
born- I was born
which
in
could be
London.
used to
born-
bolster the National Health Service.
I was born in London, I think you'll find.
And then claim that, you're not English. That's
Well, I'm
your
not
trouble.
English. How am I English?
Well, you were born in Hampstead in London.
Yeah,
That's
doesn't
English.
It doesn't make you English where
Well,
you're born.
well, as far as I'm doing, makes you. Anyway, that was great. That was Land of Hope and Glory.
Yeah, very nice to hear
I
that.
told the story that when my father's boat set off, his ship, I should say, from the Solent, where I now live, on the invasion of D-Day.
Part-time.
Yes, part-time, yeah. On the invasion of D-Day, that record was played over the tunnel of the ship as it set sail on the Solent.
Yeah.
And some guy rang me up and said, you've got that wrong, you're lying, it's impossible. It wasn't impossible, my dad told me. He said, the national anthem was played on the quayside as some of the troops were boarding the ship.
Yeah.
He said, but as the ship sailed, as it went, over the Tannoy came the sound of Land of Hope and Glory.
Very exciting. So what will you be doing later to celebrate St George's Day then?
What I'm going to do is...
Have you got the flags on the car or anything like that?
No, I'm going to a special lunch, though, to...
are you?
Yeah, to commemorate it, and I'm going to give a bit of a speech.
That's nice of you.
And I'm
you
not
invite me to this lunch.
Well, I'm not charging a fee for it, you see. I'm doing
what's that got to do with me?
As a patriotic duty. Well, why would I take you along to a lunch? You're not even English. You just said you're not
Well,
English.
because you might want to take me along as your friend.
No, I wouldn't.
Your only friend.
No, you're a bum when it comes to patriosity. Patriousness. Patriot. For being a patriot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like taking Mr. Brazil. I wouldn't take Mr. Brazil. I have enough trouble.
Well, he's Scottish.
Yeah, I know he's Scottish. That's why I wouldn't take him to a St. George's Day lunch.
Well, I don't see myself necessarily as Scottish. I see myself as British. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I'll tell you something, sometimes has trouble going and watching the England football team.
Yeah.
I've had many an occasion when I've had to literally arm wrestle him into the ground.
Well, he sometimes has trouble watching Scotland as well, as we've heard
he does.
on some of the old audio.
I did a St George's Day lunch once down on a coastal resort.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was Hastings.
Oh, really?
I think it was Hastings.
Yeah.
But Hastings got a nice pebble beach.
It has.
Yeah, well, I think
the whole south coast, really, from Brighton all the way around to Canberra, is pebbles, pretty much.
Well, this is a beautiful pebbled beach, and it was either...
There was a pier there as well.
There was a pier.
Yeah, sounds like Hastings.
Yeah, it sounds like Hastings.
Yeah.
And I did it.
Were a lot of people walking around with pit bulls?
No, not really.
There's quite a lot of that as
No,
well.
it was very nice. It was a wealthy, affluent area.
Oh, well, it wasn't Hastings, then.
Oh, all right, wasn't it? Okay. Well, this is a nice affluent area. I can't remember
Might
where
have been
it was.
Bexhill.
No, it wasn't Bexhill.
Eastbourne?
No, it wasn't Eastbourne. I don't know where it was. Anyway, this chap came and picked me up after I'd finished the mid-morning show.
Oh, yeah.
So that was 1 o'clock. We got there by about sort of 2:15, you know. But the whole of the lunch waited for me to go in.
Right.
And then when I did, they played Z Cars, like to my entrance. It was brilliant. The only problem was I found it such a disturbing lunch. I left early.
Did you?
Because it was all male, which I didn't realise, right? But there was a blue comedian, and I found him repulsive.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, utterly...
What, like your warm-up guy?
My warm-up guy, that's right. No, seriously, he was my warm-up guy,
Well, that's why I said it. I'm not being facetious.
Utterly repulsive.
Well, you're not a fan of that kind of
No,
stuff.
I'm not. No,
I must admit, I'm not really either.
No, I don't like that. These all-male things, blue comedians and all that, they're so
It's like something out of the 1950s, isn't it?
It's terrible. It's shocking.
Well, if you think, you being the sexist that you are, if you think it's bad, it must have been awful.
I'm not a sexist, and I very much resent you calling me that live on air.
Well, you've been named as a sexist by many people who heard what you said last week.
What was that?
Well, your defence of being not a sexist was the grounds that you had a mother and a sister.
That's right.
And that's
two sisters. Two sisters
and a mother.
Thank you.
Does not mean that you're not a sexist.
Anyway, so I agreed to go to this one I'm going to today.
Yeah.
Only on the basis that it was a mixed lunch.
This is not on the coast, I presume.
This is not on the coast.
Right.
This is actually in town here, and it's a mixed one, and it's a bit of flag waving because it's St George's Day and all that, few Union Jacks and all that kind of stuff.
So what do they do? I mean, is there a tradition
of
stuff that they do? Like on Burns Night, they do the toasting of the haggis and all that. St Andrew's Night, they do certain things.
Well,
what do they do?
This
for
has
St.
always
George's
been
Day?
my problem: the identity of being English.
Because it's not a national holiday.
No, it's not a national holiday. They don't do it in English. I tell you where I did go one year. It's in February, Burns Night, isn't it? And one year about
end of January, I think.
No, I think it's February.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's February. And one year, about 3 years ago, there's a magnificent boat called HMS Warrior parked in Portsmouth Harbour. It's the Royal Navy's first ironclad ship.
Right.
Still had masts, didn't have an engine, but it had
still had sails.
Had sails, but it was ironclad. It was the first one. You see,
they
what
had
I mean?
a name for those, didn't they? Wasn't there a special name for the ironclad ships?
No, ironclad. That's what it was called.
Was that just what it
was?
was?
It's called Warrior. But anyway, the point is, every Burns Night they have a dinner on the board. You can hire the thing and all that kind of stuff. It's magnificent. Had the old haggis and all that. I quite like haggis and all that kind of stuff. But no, you're absolutely right. What we have is usually at these do's, and I think it's on the menu, is pork pies. What is it? Pork pies.
Well, you must have asparagus.
Shepherd's pie.
After we were hearing about how asparagus is the biggest English thing.
I don't want any asparagus.
No, but they must have it, though.
Well, they probably will have it. And then it's a bit of a sort of a beer festival as well. You know what I mean? Bit of beer and cheese and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm looking forward to it because you go with people who want to exude their nationality. And what really gets me fed up is that, later on in the week, and I tell people that I'll be accused of being a little Englander because I went to a St George's Day celebration. Well, I'm nothing wrong with wanting to be patriotic in my view.
I have absolutely no problem with people wanting to do it. I don't particularly do it, but that's because of my heritage, Yes. Stephen, on the other hand, has tweeted in. He says, I am English and couldn't care less about St George's Day, as I think most English feel the same way.
There's been a campaign to denigrate St George. People call him a Frenchman and all this kind of stuff.
Turkish, isn't he?
Turkish. Yeah. They call him a Turkish.
Well, he was from Turkey.
Say he was unable to speak English and all this kind of stuff.
He was from Turkey.
Well, how do you know that?
Because historically, that's what the historical papers say.
No,
what do you think then? Where do you think he's from?
I don't think that's. Hey, listen, talking about things to celebrate being English, okay? I've saved another creature.
Have you?
I should let you know.
Oh, good.
I've saved the bee.
Yeah, you saved the bee.
And do you know what? That bee that was dying, it literally
was resting. I keep telling you the same thing.
No, it had overeaten pollen, probably.
That's what I told you.
But it would have died if I hadn't saved it.
No,
and
it was resting.
Do you know what? I read a bee expert's description of what you do when you find a bee like that. I did it exactly to the book. I got a bit of toilet paper, soaked it in warm water, sprinkled it with sugar.
Right.
And
you did this just instinctively, did you?
Instinctively. Put it underneath the bee, and it's sort of flapping a bit and all that kind of stuff. And I lifted it. What are you laughing at? Why are you laughing?
Just your imitation of a bee.
Yeah,
flapping around.
It was. Its little wings were flapping.
Yeah, it was resting.
And then I put it on the tissue. I put it outside so the wind could, brush its face and all that kind of stuff. Then I put it amongst my daffodils, so it's near pollen and all that kind of stuff. And miraculously, about an hour later, the bee lifted off like a vanguard from the ashes, and it went. It flew off. Yeah.
I mean, a phoenix.
The phoenix from the ashes, that's right. Yeah,
vanguard's a plane.
Anyway, let me tell you about the latest...
What else have you saved then lately?
A pigeon.
A pigeon?
Yeah, now the
flying rats.
Now the roof garden is being done at the moment.
Yeah. And how's that coming along, by the way?
Oh, spectacular.
Is it?
Everything's had to be taken out and put into the garden next door.
The neighbours must be happy.
Well, the neighbours...
Well, what do you mean the garden next door? Isn't it up on a roof, top of the roof?
Yes, but there's an apartment which... joins mine.
Oh, so all your rubbish is now in the next door apartment?
That's right, because we have to put it over the wall into the next apartment.
Yeah,
and by the way, we couldn't ask permission.
Have they not complained about that?
Well, we couldn't ask permission because they weren't there. So they won't know until they get home.
Thing to do.
No, you've got to be neighbourly. But anyway, so all that happened, all the furniture's gone, and some of it's hanging off the wall. Right. They take your tables and chairs, and they just hang them off the wall, like that sort of stuff.
Nail them to something?
No, they hang them through the legs on the wall, over the wall.
Oh,
you
I see what you mean. Yeah, I get you.
And
you've got a table out there, have you? Table and
I've
chairs.
got 2 wooden tables.
Have you?
And
like picnic
and
table
4
type
wooden
thing?
chairs. No. These are made of ash.
Are they?
They're beautiful, and my housekeeper washes them every week to keep them clean and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's marvellous. But what they've done is...
I wouldn't have to ask, of course, if I'd been there.
No, of course not. No, I wouldn't take you onto the roof garden anyway. You'd make the place look untidy. and what's happened is they've now pulled up all the asphalt and all that. It's all been relined and it's all now covered in this black mastic. Okay,
yeah, right.
So, for instance, if a bird landed on it, the bird would be dead
because
its feet would stick in the mastic and all that.
Okay.
So you know, I had to keep an eye on this.
It's like tar, is it?
It's like tar.
Yeah.
So this pigeon arrives. Yeah. Okay, and he sits on one of the pillars.
I'm not keen on pigeons.
Well, I'm not really, but I don't like to see animals being hurt. So it sits on a pillar at the end of the garden.
Yeah.
It was, I think, the big sunny day this week, which was Tuesday, I think, wasn't it? It was Tuesday, sunny, or Monday?
Very sunny,
Tuesday, yeah. And it's literally sunbathing. I could see it was there, and it was lifting its head and flapping its wings a bit and all that.
Yeah.
And then I saw the mad tabby cat coming. Who nobody knows
the one you frightened off before?
The one I frightened off.
Oh, it's still around, is it?
Well, it came across the top of the wall, and I thought, I know that's after.
Oh, yeah.
So immediately I leapt into action, bashed open the door, onto the roof garden, started screaming, shouting. 2 things happened. Tabby cat turned and ran.
Yeah.
Bird, pigeon, suddenly woke up, boom, shit was away.
Right.
I saved that pigeon's life. That cat was going after that pigeon.
Yeah, but
it would have been the most terrible massacre.
Well, they don't always catch them, do they?
Well, he would have caught this one because he wasn't looking.
I saw the same cat tonight, as I saw last night, crossing the exact same zebra crossing. What do you make of that?
What, on your way into the... and what time was this?
This was as I was driving in, just before midnight.
How do you know it was the exact same cat, for goodness sake?
Well, it was the exact same zebra crossing, almost exactly the same time, only this time it was going the other way.
Rubbish.
Well, I mean, you've talked often about the cleverness of cats and the evilness of cats.
Well, yeah, it's certainly evilness.
It was exactly the same. It was a black cat, exactly the same size.
I went out the other night, by the way. You're talking about cats and all that. Do the cat round here to catch the rats, because the other night, after you told me that horrendous story...
About the rat,
I went out and it was pitch black outside. I daren't open the door of my car. I thought the rat might rush in.
He might have done.
So I opened it just slightly and slithered into the car and then shut the door and went away. But I remember the story about a cat when I moved house once. I was moving from A to B, but I wasn't selling the house I was moving out of. Yeah. Don't worry about the time, man. And...
By the way, somebody tweeted this morning
that
when you were on, and I heard you doing it when you were on the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast, making constant references to the time.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, you were.
I wasn't.
So when you're on his show, you're always going on about the time. When you're on this show, you don't like to be mentioning the time.
I've got a very fixed timetable. Anyway, I was moving house, right, from one to the other.
Yeah.
I wasn't selling the house. I was taking some of the stuff from that house to the new house, and I left the door open, and so I went in and out of the house to bring stuff out, put it in the back of the car.
Yeah.
When I arrived at the new house, I opened the back door to get a load of stuff out, and a cat jumped out. That cat had travelled 8 miles in my car with me.
Really?
And then it just ran off.
Blimey.
So I've kidnapped somebody's cat without knowing it. I mean, I was a cat kidnapper.
So the cat was in the car?
The cat was in the car.
Blimey.
The cat had jumped in the car when the doors were open.
I'll tell you a funny story about that in a moment.
That's shocking.
Yeah.
And by the way, the cat was never seen again. I thought cats were able to travel hundreds of miles home.
Well, if they do, they can if they get in your car. This is Talk Sport.
I thought they had radar in their heads.
Yeah, well, they haven't got radar in their heads. That's bats you're thinking of. It starts with a B. This is Talk Sport. We're talking Manchester City coming up next.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Freedom for sport.
Can we kick it? Yes, we can. Talk Sport.
Tyrion.
Oh, yeah.
A man who...
I thought you said you weren't going to watch the Champions League, by the way.
No, I didn't say that. You
said that last week.
I don't watch it for pleasure. I watch it for business reasons.
Of course, yeah.
That is, so I can come and talk to you about it afterwards, because you can bet your life you haven't, because
I've certainly seen it.
According to your Twitter file today, you're stuffing your face full of some sort of Spanish dish
That was at around 6 o'clock. I said, in preparation for coming on here and watching the Champions League. Yeah.
I've seen you eat a meal over 2 or 3 hours.
I made a little sort of Moroccan couscous type dish, actually. Very nice.
Moroccan couscous. Don't give me that. It looked like a bit of a mess to me. But
really?
You said you put a picture about it.
Knowing your great sort of alacrity for enjoying food, I wouldn't take any notice of that.
I like plain and simple food.
Well, because you're plain and simple, right?
No, I'm not plain and simple, and I'm not going to react to that. Now, what I was saying is Thierry Henry.
Yes. Thierry
Henry,
the
man who should never have come back in an Arsenal shirt, but who did, and that was one of the things I fell out with our mate Piers Morgan about.
Oh, yeah.
How on earth can you, be...
What, you mean when he came back and played and scored that goal in the FA Cup?
That's right,
Against Leeds, I think, wasn't it?
And Piers is, I'm falling on the floor with ecstasy and all that. Yeah. Hang on, he's a has-been, washed-up, former player. He should never have come back. But anyway, that's by the by.
Yes.
Point is, he said tonight, it was scored by Hernandez, wasn't it?
It was.
Now,
Chicharito.
But this man's got 3 names. Hernandez, Chicharito, is it, on the back of his shirt?
Yeah.
But he's known as Little P
Little
in English.
P, yeah.
So I never know who the guy is.
Right.
I thought there were 3 different players playing for Manchester United once, and I couldn't work out how they were.
Well, he was always a kind of super sub for Manchester United, wasn't he?
But they were referring to Little P, and I thought, Little P, now which one's he? And then they referred to Hernandez. I said, Hernandez, is he a fullback?
Well, I think Little P
Chicharito
is Little P not the English translation of Chikorito?
I think it is. Can you imagine an English player having Little P written on the back of his shirt?
No.
How ridiculous is that?
Well, it's a bit like this guy Memphis Depay, isn't it? Who wants to be known as Memphis, apparently. So when he plays, if he does play over here, he'll be playing.
What's that song? Walking in Memphis.
Walking in Memphis.
We're walking in Memphis.
Yeah, that's an old one. Yeah.
Here, I like this one. Help me information, get me Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah, that's it.
I like that one.
Yeah, I don't think that Memphis is in the title of that one.
But
then a lot of players.
Memphis is in the words, isn't it? Because I've just sung them to you.
Like a lot of the Brazilian players, a lot of Brazilian players have a different name on their shirts to the one like Pele. Remember what Pele's name is? You'll remember this one, sure.
Sorry?
You know what Pele's real name is, don't you?
Di Romantas, the Black Pearl.
Eh?
Pele.
No, Escar Arantes de Nascimento is his real name.
That's what I said.
That's not what you said. No.
That's exactly what I said.
That's not what you said.
It is what I said, and he's known as the Black Pearl.
Well, he may be, but what I'm saying is...
That's why he's called Pele, it means pearl.
But he couldn't put that on the back, could he?
No, of course he couldn't. Anyway, look, I don't know what you're talking about here. Well,
you could have Porky if you had a shirt.
I've got one with on.
What, Porky?
I've got a shirt with Porky on the back.
What, an Everton shirt?
I think it's a Manchester United shirt.
Is it?
I think it was when I had to score that goal in a penalty shootout at half time for Manchester in a Manchester United game, and I had to put on a Manchester United shirt. And of course, I've never been allowed to forget it. But that's by the by.
No, right.
Now the point is, Thierry Henry looking very.
Thierry.
Yeah, okay. Looking very elegant in an Italian suit in a TV studio. Old Hernandez is on loan, isn't he, from Manchester United?
Yeah.
Isn't that a weird way to go? You know, you play for Manchester United, but putting you out on loan. Oh, where am I going? Barnsley?
Yeah.
Bradford? Oldham? No, you're going to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
How weird is that?
It is strange, isn't it?
Yeah, but anyway.
The whole loan system needs to be overhauled, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's a
so
terrible
anyway, he's
system.
gone and he gets very few games, but tonight Ronaldo does all the running, gives him a goal. And then Thierry Henry's, and then he dashes over and he does the trick which I think should be banned for footballers. He tries then to ruin the cruciate ligaments in both his knees.
Well, he slides,
by jumping on his knees and slides. That's right.
And then ends up on his back with his arms out.
Yeah. So Thierry Henry said he shouldn't have celebrated on his own. He should have given some of the credit to Ronaldo. Well, that's a bit rich, seeing as Ronaldo actually under-celebrates anybody else's goals except himself at Real Madrid because he believes he's the only one who should score them.
Well, I don't know if it's like that.
No,
it
is like that.
I think what Ronaldo
does... He has a massive
does,
ego.
Well, of course he has a massive ego. That's part of his charm. I mean, the reason he maybe over-celebrates his own goals is because, you know, he is probably one of the most photographed men now in the world, right? And I think he's perhaps doing it because remember that goal he scored
one of those
in
famous, I suppose.
in the Champions League, he scored that penalty to get 4-1. The game was already over.
Of course it was.
He took his shirt off. He ran over to behind the goal to the fans.
Yes.
And he basically posed like that. Do you remember when Balotelli did that in the Euros?
Yeah, I
when
do.
he took his shirt off and just kind of posed like a gladiator. And you have to think maybe he's doing this for a film. He's got a film crew following him around, or maybe he's doing it for a specific reason. You know,
could be.
And if you were Chicharito, you'd be pretty excited to score the winning goal in the quarter-final of the Champions League.
I would. That's what I mean. I don't know what Thierry Henry was talking about. Thierry Henry used to celebrate goals in his own inimitable way as well.
Well, funny enough, you know, when one of the great things about working these hours is quite often on Sky they run those, you know, the best 100 goals of Thierry Henry in Premier League. Yeah. And I mean, his celebrations are quite elaborate.
Yeah, you see them all the time. Now, so that's all sorted out now, the Champions League, okay, in terms of the semi-finals, right?
Well, the draw is
Draws on Friday.
Yeah.
The 4 teams left in it have won more European Cup / Champion Leagues between them than any other 4 semi-finalists in the past. I'm emphasising my point.
Okay.
I have to emphasise my point because sometimes I don't get your attention because
now's your chance.
You have a drifting brain.
Yeah, well, I do drift off occasionally when you just start ranting and raving and bashing the desk like this.
Well, you should pay more attention because the listeners pay attention and you often get caught out when they send in very accurate tweets of things I've said which you've missed. Right. And you accuse me of saying things I don't say.
Well, you said that you predicted that Bayern Munich were going to score 6 goals. Nobody remembers that at all, not just me. There is no apparent audio of it. But now's your chance to tell us.
These boys haven't got time to trail through millions and millions and
but I'm talking about people
of
trail through the podcast and listen to because they listen to your every word. They hang on them. And nobody has found any trace of you saying that Bayern were going to win 6-0. Well, however, now's your opportunity to tell us.
I didn't say they'd win 6-0. I said they'd score 6.
Yeah, well, all right. So you say.
Yes.
Now's your chance to say who you think is going to win the Champions League, if you wish.
Right,
if you wish to put your neck on the line.
So it's one of Barcelona, Real Madrid, Juventus,
and
and Bayern.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be Bayern Munich.
Do you?
I think so.
Really?
That's
I
what
think
I
it's going to be Barcelona.
You think it'd be Barcelona?
I do think it's going to be Barcelona.
So neither of us think it'll be Real.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in a happy position.
I don't really care.
I don't mind who wins.
I don't care.
No, it's not that I don't care. I think that's a bit harsh.
If it's not an English club, frankly, I'm not sure that I want to celebrate some continental team once again getting the drop on the English team.
I mean, what about?
Don't like it.
Would you not like to see?
Like it.
Would you not like to see Gareth Bale winning it?
Yes, I would quite like to see Gareth Bale. I think he's a very nice lad, and he deserves a success. Very brave for going overseas. Got to make brave and bold decisions sometimes in life, Mike. Something you've never done.
I've made lots of brave and bold decisions. Yes, I have.
All you've ever done is let life take you along.
When I was 23 years old, I left this country and went to work in America under my own steam.
You had to.
No,
you had no future in this country.
That's not true.
You'd applied for.
That's not true.
You'd applied for 50 jobs in journalism. And
that's not true.
Not one person had offered you even the job of making the tea.
That's not true.
At the Dandy.
I was working at the Mail on Sunday at the time.
You couldn't get into the Beano's
not
office.
True. Unlike you, who were cosseted and sent to New York because, supposedly you'd earned it by working at the Daily Express.
I was the top reporter.
And you were sent there on a salary. You were sent there with all the paddings and the backup
massive expenses.
Of a massive... you had massive expenses.
That's
you were provided with
salary.
Provided with somewhere to live.
Tax-free dosh.
Yeah, exactly. You were completely and utterly protected from anything that could happen. Now, that to me is
Helicopter
not...
rides.
That's not taking a chance. What I did was taking a chance. I went there with $100 and I made a fortune. I did it on my own. I didn't have any help from anybody.
Where is the fortune these days?
Where is it? Well, I've given most of it away.
Of course you have, yeah. Mostly to ex-wives.
Yeah, well, one ex-wife.
And wine bars, spending £70 and £80 a time on bottles of champagne.
I je ne regret rien is my motto
and buying bum houses that flooded
Not
the day
at all.
after you bought them.
Buying a house in New York, which you then welched on, so that I had to then hand the keys back because you were supposed to be renting it from me.
You're such a brilliant property speculator. You bought it at the height of the market, and within a year it was worth about two-thirds of what you paid for it.
Not true. If you want to find the truth...
If
you want to find the truth about what happened to me and the house that I bought in New York City, I recommend you go to the Two Mics TV on YouTube, where you will see an exchange between Mr. Parry and I live at the Birmingham Repertory Theatre, which I can't repeat here because it does include some language which we couldn't use on the radio.
Yes, I was rather disappointed with that.
You will get the full version of exactly what happened in New York City. But anyway...
Ain't they pretty New York City girl?
Are you going to sing all the way through now, just because it's St. George's Day?
They always remind me of songs,
That's now 5 songs you've done.
Give me the boy from New York City. Yeah, I can't help it. I've got a musical flair.
Coming up, I'm going to tell you about how you can de-stress yourself. There's a new plan going around in London as to how to de-stress yourself.
Oh, really? You know about these things,
It has to do with colour. Yeah, I'm going to tell you all about it.
I want to tell you about the disgrace of the US giving up the protection of humpback whales.
Humpback whales?
Yeah.
You're going on about whales again?
Yeah, I mean, I have to watch these things.
We've already talked about whales.
No, I have to watch these things around the...
Oh, this is your campaign, is it?
Yeah.
Another campaign alert.
Yeah, it could be.
God. All right, okay. Anyway, lots more to come. We are the Two Mics. He's Mike Parry. I'm Mike Graham. There will be a podcast once again coming up. But do go to have a look at that Two Mics TV YouTube channel, and you'll find quite a few clips there right now. This is TalkSport.
Anciently deceiving friends under the sea.
During the course of the show, I'm hopeful a whale will leap out of the Indian Ocean. Give me a greeting, a nod of the old beak, and back into the Indian Ocean again.
I don't remember that one.
No, I don't remember that
one. It must be one of the old ones.
I'm not sure what the relevance of that is. Perhaps it's about the humpback whale, which we can talk about later. You're going to tell me about self-confidence.
I'm not going to tell you about self-confidence. I'm going to tell you about a new way of de-stressing yourself.
That's what I mean.
What's that got to do with self-confidence?
Well, if you're stressed all the time, you haven't got much self-confidence.
No.
If you can de-stress yourself, you look at life with a bolder and firmer eye.
Right. Now, you've talked about what happens as far as, the winter months are concerned and how you're not a big fan of the summer, but we're not, neither of us, I think, particularly great fans of driving in and out of work in the dark. Now,
I don't mind that because there's no traffic on the roads.
Yeah,
I
know,
like that.
But that's fine.
I like that.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the way that the light affects you in any particular way. Do you remember the other day we saw that story about Louis van Gaal, who's decided to allow Manchester United players to train at night?
Yes.
Because, that's a better way
That's why he's getting floodlights.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, as a French company called My Cocoon, who have decided that chromotherapy is the way to go, right? So what you're going to see as you travel around...
to do with chromosomes?
Not particularly. It's to do with colour therapy, right? and they're building colour therapy pods all over London, right? So I'll show you a picture of one there. So when you're walking around, right, you will find that you could sit under one of these pods, which will be outside.
Sit under it?
Yeah, well, you can see there's a picture of a woman. Well, no, you can't have a look because I'm reading from that.
So, hang on. Who administers this pod?
Well, it's going to be out. You know how you...
Is it just in the street?
Yeah, I think so. When you walk around London and you see...
to me.
What do you mean filthy?
Well, they get filthy in the streets.
No, they won't.
You might get all
there's so many...
these dossers thinking, that's better than having a cardboard box or something.
No, the point is that here's what they say. Colour therapists claim that as every colour falls into a certain vibration and frequency pattern, it can be used to alter the frequencies of the body to make people feel more relaxed, right? So each colour stimulates different emotions. So, for example, that picture shows magenta, and that helps boost energy and confidence, while blue is actually calming. Now, these are going to be in Canary Wharf in Jubilee Mall. Now, you know whenever you go to Canary Wharf to see Mr. Brazil,
yes,
Jubilee Mall is one of those areas. So they're going to put it outside, and Canary Wharf technically is private land, so they won't have bums sleeping there because there aren't any bums in Canary Wharf.
No, there aren't.
Which is one of the nice things about Canary Wharf.
It's too wealthy.
So basically,
an area. I agree.
if you want to buy one of these things, they sell for about £19,000, right?
Really?
So I think maybe we should go over and try them out one afternoon.
No, I'm not certainly.
We'll have a spot of lunch.
No, thanks.
Relax in a pod.
No.
You can choose your own colour.
I'm honestly.
It says that 77% of people that have sat in these pods feel happier afterwards, and I think because you're such an old misery, actually I think it would cheer you up.
No, good for them. But to my mind, anybody who does that's just feeble-minded as usual.
Rubbish.
Once you give your mind away to somebody else to manipulate it, you've lost your own mind.
It's not about manipulation of your mind.
You just become a vegetable.
Have you ever done any of these relaxation
become a zombie.
techniques? Have you ever done any of these relaxation techniques?
I don't need relaxation. I relax myself.
I did one once when I was in, because they started this thing when I was in the States in Wall Street, right? And you could go to this place.
Do the Wall Street shuffle.
I'm going to have to hold up that no singing sign.
Yeah, go on.
And I had to go and do a feature on this place, and you went into this kind of white room, and you sat in what can only be described as almost like a dentist chair, right, which kind of vibrated slowly, and then you put on these goggles, which had lights going on inside them in different patterns.
Sounds weird, man.
It was almost like looking into a kaleidoscope.
Not looking into the light.
It was looking into the light.
Right.
Yeah, but it was like a kaleidoscope, right? And they also played you this kind of Enya type music, very relaxing music.
Oh yeah, I like that.
And I was in there for.
That was called Orinoco Flow. Sorry, go on.
You're right. Yeah, very well remembered.
Thank you.
Now, I came out of that session, and it was designed for people who were living these very high stress lives in Wall Street, bankers, people like that, traders,
Yeah.
And I came out, and I literally did feel as if I had taken some kind of mind-altering drug.
Yeah,
but I hadn't. No, I hadn't.
Had the night before. Yeah.
No, I hadn't. And it was
probably
really
quite into one of our tech
nice. It was like being stoned. It was like being stoned.
Like being stoned.
Or as I imagine being stoned would be.
What a load of rubbish. I tell you what, I
think you should try it.
I tell you what, I went out with a girl once. I tell you what she got into.
Yeah.
She went along to this place, not very far from.
She started taking mind-altering drugs, I would imagine. Going out with you, that would do it.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's very funny. That really, gripping my sides with mirth. And not very far from here, just up the Southwark Bridge Road there.
Oh, yeah.
There's a place where you go in, and then you get into like a bathing costume, and you get into a little boat, and they push this boat into a black hole room.
Are you sure this is not like an isolation tank type thing?
Yeah, that's what it is.
There's no boat involved.
There is. There's a boat.
They just suspend you. It's
That's
suspended
what I mean.
You're not in a boat.
Well, how do they suspend you?
Well, they suspend you by putting you, and you're floating in water, basically.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, it's not a boat,
No,
is it?
you do. It's on a boat.
Rubbish.
She wasn't honestly floating on water on her own. It's not like the Dead Sea.
Yeah,
Have you ever done that? You go to the Dead
I've
Sea,
never been to the Dead
and
Sea.
you just lie there like that, and it's like having a lilo underneath you. You can't sink
because of all the
so much
salt,
salt in it.
Yeah.
No. She had some form
it's like
of
the food
tray.
that you eat. So much salt in it.
That's right. She had a form of tray underneath her, and they just lock you in there for half an hour, and then when you come out, you're supposed to have, purity of mind. What about that ridiculous
place? Hey, by the
place?
way, Neil has just tweeted in to say Black Pearl was Eusebio, not Pele.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I knew
so
that.
you got that wrong.
I knew that. Eusebio means a black pearl.
Yeah, okay. Not Pele then.
Pele means Pele.
Yeah, Pele is... We'll go back to your isolation tank.
But,
did you ever cross your mind why she wanted to go into this isolation tank?
Well, to
get away from you.
No, to sort of...
You were probably constantly trying to drag her down the pub.
As we used to say in the 70s, hey, man, I can't come out tonight. I've got to get my mind together. Get my head together, sorry. Got to get my head together.
I knew a guy in New York
who wanted to get their heads together.
I knew a guy in New York who was Australian, and he had this American girlfriend who was very attractive, very sort of willowy blonde, typical kind of New York woman.
Was that Beth?
No. Why are you giving away the names?
What was her name? I remember her.
No, you don't, because you won't remember the guy. The guy that wasn't the one you're thinking of. It was a different Australian guy.
Okay, yeah.
But she went for primal scream therapy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that thing John Lennon did.
John Lennon does that, yeah.
And she,
you roll around screaming.
You run around screaming, yeah. Yeah, all right. I mean, I don't think it did him any good.
No, it didn't do any good. He put some of that on one of his LPs. It was called Lennon, I think. It was the first one after he came out the Beatles.
We're not supposed to mention his name, are we?
Yeah, of course we can, yeah.
He was the man whose name you cannot mention.
And the song was called Well. Thank you.
Well, you're going to have to find some different siren noises.
And the song was called Well. Went like that.
That was popular.
Sort of primal screaming, yeah. That's right. Oh, talking about the...
what happened with you and this girl in the isolation tank then?
Oh, I don't know. Sort of drifted into the ether, the relationship, as they always did.
I suppose they
People
did,
didn't understand me. They just didn't... They couldn't get it, And also, you mentioned...
That come as any surprise.
What?
That doesn't come as any surprise.
Listen, talking about all these things, right?
Well, what things?
I
wanted to ask you about Manchester City, actually. What do you make of this story on the back of the Independent, which says that because they're changing the rules next year in the Champions League, Manchester City will become a third-tier team. So technically they might even be in a group with the likes of either Real Madrid, Barcelona and Bayern Munich. One of those, you could get Bayern Munich and one of those other teams in the same group, which would be horrendous. Yeah. Make it even harder for old Pellegrini to get out.
Why have they suddenly been upgraded?
Well, because they've changed the rules. Now, apparently, the first-tier teams are only going to be the winners of their domestic leagues plus the winners of the Champions League.
Right.
So one of those will go into each of the 8 groups.
Right.
And then, because of the coefficient being what it is, Manchester City have dropped out of the top 16 teams because Porto and Juventus have now gone in because they made it into the semi-finals.
Yeah.
So they will be, way down the list, basically, of teams that go into the individual groups. So it's going to be even harder for them.
If there's one thing that bores me to death, it's football politics and football administration. Yeah. I couldn't care less.
But it's important, though.
No, it's not important.
It is important.
I don't think it's important.
If things go the way they are going at the moment, England will not get any longer 4 places. They'll only get 3.
Yeah, I know about that.
Well, that's important, isn't it?
No. To me, that's a good move forward.
Why?
Well, far too many teams go into the Champions League anyway, and then far too many teams go into the Europa
League. But there won't be
League.
any less teams. There'll just be less English teams.
Yeah, well, okay, that's fine. As far as I'm concerned, that's okay. Yeah, I am quite happy with that. I think it's ludicrous the way that the 4th place team in the Premier League gets into the European Cup, which is effectively what it is. I think it's absolutely ludicrous.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what, if they only have 3 places left to get into the Champions League, Everton will never get into it.
Well, that's a different argument altogether.
No, it isn't.
Completely different.
Same
yes,
argument.
It is. Now, you were talking about de-stressing and all that kind of stuff, right?
De-stressing?
Yeah, you were. One thing that's going to de-stress people, not distress people, is the fact that within 10 years, when you come to work, you will no longer have a desk.
Right.
If you have a sort of influential position, you will
have
a desk.
Well, I haven't really got a desk here.
Well, we have desks here which we sit at. And we have
they call it
computers
hot
on.
desking now, don't they?
Well, yeah, I suppose they do. But in future, because they have tablets like that thing you've got in front of you, all people need is an easy chair now to work. Right. You see what I mean?
I actually saw a picture, and I don't know whether it was Google's offices or one of these new kind of not new, but sort of young thrusting companies, where people stand at their kind of workstations.
Yes, that's right.
And they don't sit down.
That's right.
And
I've
there's
seen
just
that,
a whole load of kind of bars.
And the meetings are all standing only now as well. Yeah.
Right.
But I tell you what. I will continue to lead organisations. I will continue to be a man who others follow. I will continue to set the pace. And when I do that, I don't care how many people are standing in their meetings. I don't care how many people are sitting around on easy chairs with their tablets in their lap.
You don't really have meetings anymore, do you?
Yeah, of course I have meetings.
What meetings do you have?
Oh, well, how do you think we get on the road, Mike? I'm organising...
Yeah, but you're not sitting in a room with anyone.
I am sitting with some of the greatest, show business... people in this country,
are you?
The organisers of international tours. Not you, you fool. I'm talking about the entrepreneurs who organise these things.
Yeah, but you can do all that without being in the same room.
No, I have to be in the same room. I have to look in their eyes.
Oh, yeah.
I have to look them in the eye, make sure that we're doing things
Everything's
straight.
done on a handshake.
And what I'm saying is, the only way, in my view, that you can emphasise to people around you, I am the boss, I am the leader, is you have a desk.
Right.
And on that desk, you have at least 3 phones, which I always have.
Surely you need an office, don't you, for that?
Yes, you have an office.
Because I remember when you became assistant editor news at the Daily Express, you were never happier because they gave you that off-corner office to share with somebody else.
No, never shared with anybody. I didn't. I looked at the person.
You shared it with the night editor.
No, I didn't. No, I locked him out. No, I threw him out.
I remember because I came to see you and you took me up there and you shut the door and you opened the fridge, you gave me a Heineken.
I thought I'd given you... I thought I shared a bottle of vodka with you I brought back from Russia.
No, I think it was a Heineken you gave me.
Oh, that could have been the night editor I shared that with. He became incapable and couldn't do his job for the rest of the day.
Right.
That's true.
This was a guy who used to have a plastic beaker
Yes.
on his desk, which
Yes.
everyone thought was full of coffee, but he kept the lid on it because it was actually full of either wine or vodka.
And also, on that particular day...
Don't give his name away, by the way.
His name's Terry.
Don't give his name away.
And he had a glass of water on his desk, but that day I invited him as a sort of peace pack because I'd thrown him out of my office, you know.
Yeah, but it was not your office. It was your office to share with him.
It was mine. I had my name put on the door eventually.
Yeah, I know you did.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And so...
But
and
you were so happy. I'd never seen you so happy.
And I had a key, so I wouldn't let anybody else in.
You had a key to an office.
So anyway, I said...
You don't have the locks changed as well?
I would have done if he'd had a key, but he didn't have a key.
Right.
I bent the other key in two, so nobody could use it. I did, yeah. But no, what happened was
tales of your Christianity.
Yeah. I said, come on, Terry. I said, make the peace and all that. I'm sorry you can't use my office anymore, mate, but here we go. Have a glass of this. Anyway, he was a bit of a, he liked to drink, Terry. Liked to drink.
Well,
and,
he wasn't alone, was he?
No, he wasn't alone in that sort of business, to be fair. And about every 10 minutes, he kept popping up and said, hi, mate, let's have another one. He became insensible and incapable. And the lines between efficiency and inefficiency got very blurred. It was one of those sort of days.
Yeah. I took over the job of the guy who was the copy taster initially, who was a very large man.
Yeah.
And when he was explaining the job to me, to be fair, it wasn't very difficult.
No.
The idea was that you would look at stories and recommend them to the night editor as to where they should go in the paper.
That's right.
And he said, I've got this basket. He said, this is the one where you send them over to the back bench. This is the one we send to the subs.
Yeah.
I've got this other. I said, what's that basket there? He said, oh, that's possibles. I said, what's that? He said, well, that's where I put stories I can't decide about.
Yeah,
what's the point of that?
Can't make my mind up, yeah.
And basically it was a sort of, backside covering exercise.
Oh, yeah,
so just in case somebody said, where's this story that's in the Daily Mail?
Yeah.
And we don't seem to have it. You would suddenly go,
it's in
Possibles.
Yeah.
Everybody's overlooked it.
That's right.
Shocking.
But, I mean, when you say drink influenced a lot of what we did in those days...
It's true.
I mean, how many businesses moved from one building to another? Because we moved out of Fleet Street to Blackfriars Bridge. Not very far away.
No.
Maybe less than half a mile. But within the new building, we built a bar on the first floor.
Well, that's because at least then they knew where everybody was.
Well, that's absolutely true. But it was called Poppins because the bar on the first floor of the old building was called the Poppin' J.
Right.
So we couldn't steal the exact name, so we called it Poppins, and it was the most profitable part of the building, without a shadow of a doubt.
And it had an internal phone in there, so you could ring down and tell people when they need to come back upstairs.
No, you know what you used to use the internal phone for?
We haven't got time.
You used to use the internal phone to ring down and say, set them up, I've only got a 3-minute break. So at the time you walked in, you'd walk up to the bar, go whoosh, like that, a large gin and tonic, and you were back up in 3 minutes.
Shocking behaviour.
That's what the phone was used for.
If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
Experience.
Oh, really? What's fantastic about it? Floating around a bit of water? I don't think so.
No, it really relaxes you.
I don't think so.
Have you ever had a head massage?
No.
Why not?
Why would I want one?
Because it's very good. It makes you feel very good.
No,
I mean, you were telling me just last week that you've got exploding head syndrome, right? It might actually help you.
No, these are false gods. They're false gods. You don't need them, honestly. What they do is they take responsibility for life away from you and your normal state of mind into some dopey sort of, wispy type era where you can't make proper decisions in life. Now, I've got a very, very outstanding tweet here.
Have you?
It's Wannabe Rockstar. Guy called Wooden or whatever his name is.
Woodenhead, yeah.
Is it Woodenhead?
Yeah.
Okay. And he says, don't let old MG stop you from singing. He's just jealous because you could easily, it's obvious, have a career as a top crooner in a place like Vegas, okay?
God.
But Liz, who I'm afraid is, a bit flaky in her support for us, so sometimes she's all for it, sometimes
she's
really
the woman
against it.
who wants to be the next Mrs. Parry.
Well, she has ambitions, but she's got a long way to go yet. And she says, is this talk sport or sing while you work? And then adds a word which I can't repeat on radio because it's rather offensive.
No, I'm glad you didn't read that out.
And I'm afraid she's getting negative marks at the moment. She's not really being,
Alex says this: you'd never rob a bank with Mike Parry, would you? Hashtag sings like a canary.
Yeah, well there you go.
Because you're always giving out people's names. That's the point.
No.
Even when I say don't give out the name, I'll tell you what. Actually, your story about your cat coming into the car reminded me of another ex-Fleet Street friend of ours who ended up up being an editor at various points in various different places. He was moving house, and they had a pet cat. And a bit like a lot of us in those days, when you had domestic things to do, it was quite difficult, because when you're thrusting
14-hour days.
Well, exactly. And, you could never really be away from the office, and so it was always a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, it was,
And in fact, I'll tell you another story about another guy in a minute, but this guy had to, his wife was also worked in Fleet Street, and so they had to sort of somehow manage this move.
Right.
And he was deputised to take the pet cat down to the new house, and he had to go from somewhere like Birmingham.
Was this in the country?
It was somewhere from. They lived in Birmingham, I think, and they were moving down to the home counties, to somewhere like Middlesex or something.
Yes.
And he couldn't find anything to put a cat in, so he just put the cat in the back of the car,
right?
And put it on the back seat and started driving down the motorway. And apparently, as he was, and he kind of looked in the rearview mirror occasionally, saw the cat was there. But at some point or other, as he was driving down 90 miles an hour down the fast lane, the cat leapt on him and just stuck its claws into the back of his neck and wouldn't let go. He was literally like in absolute agony, trying to keep control of the car. Managed to somehow finally pull it into the next service stop. Right,
get the cat off his neck.
Cat off his neck. Put it into the boot, right, and just locked it.
You put the cat in the boot?
Put the cat in the boot and locked it there for the rest of the journey.
Good God, that's a terrible story.
I know.
I tell you what, if that cat had reached around his face because it was, got his eyes or something, that is a terrible story.
I know, can you imagine?
Talking about people in newspaper offices, by the way, I saw a report today that one of the biggest problems which exist even to this day in offices is that if you go to your boss with a great idea, you know what I mean, and it actually gets picked up and people start running with it, the boss suddenly decides it's his idea.
Oh, well, that's not anything new, is it?
Oh, no. I was about to...
you used to nick people's ideas all the time.
No, people would nick my ideas. There was one occasion,
Rubbish.
right? No, I'm telling you, there was one...
When you were in charge of all those reporters around the world,
that's right,
are you telling me that you didn't go into a conference at all, ever, with a great idea that you'd nicked from one of them?
Well, their job was to brief me on world events. Yeah. I would then go into conference and present them as a comprehensive way forward on that sort of thing. But what I was going to say was that I remember once we were in the middle of a terrible day, and England were playing that night and all that kind of stuff, and couldn't think of any great ideas, to liven it all up and all that kind of stuff. And some young reporter came up to me and said, I thought about this. I said, what is it? And in those days, we didn't have the technology we've got now. So what he suggested was a clapometer. And we'd send 4 reporters to the game with these machines, which measure noise, which was invented, by the way, by... I'll tell you who it was invented by Rod Laver.
Was it?
The Australian tennis player.
Yeah.
And he invented a machine which was basically just a box.
Yeah. Because we used to have those adverts in America for clap on, clap off, so you could just clap your hands and lights would come on and lights would go off.
Rod Laver, the Australian tennis player, invented it.
How strange.
To boost his popularity and tell people, the noise levels were very high. It was a very, very basic machine. It's like a tin can or something.
Right.
But anyway, so we sent these 4 reporters there, and the idea... And this lad who came to me invented I said, what are you going to call it? He said, Noise for the Boys.
Oh, yeah.
I said, Noise for the Boys. He said, yeah, but he said, what we do is the louder that the Wembley crowd cheers for England tonight, they score goals, we will donate money to charity on a sliding scale.
Right.
And the sliding scale will be determined by the noisometers.
Yeah.
I said, anyway, I took that into evening conference and said, look, this is the idea I've got. And
this is the idea I've got.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I stole it, right. But then guess what happened? The following day, Mr. Murdoch was in town. I was working for a News International paper at the time. He thought it was a brilliant idea.
Did he?
So he came into next morning's conference and asked whose idea it was.
Yeah.
And my editor stole it off me.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's karma for you, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. I nicked it off a young reporter.
If he hadn't liked it, he probably wouldn't have done that.
No, he wouldn't. No.
He would have blamed you.
He said, I was working on it all day yesterday and all this kind of stuff. And nobody else in the room was allowed to speak, of course, when Mr. Murdoch was in the room.
Yeah.
And so it definitely was karma, honestly, yeah.
So that's what, so what are you saying is evidence that that's happening more and more then, or not?
Well, yeah, I'll read you this report. It says 1 in 5 managers admits passing off employees' good ideas as their own, and workers cannot even rely on camaraderie among their colleagues. Well, I can tell you something, mate. I've worked in plenty of offices where camaraderie didn't even exist. It went out the window.
Well, you didn't practice much of it, that's for sure.
I did. I used to try and practice camaraderie, but the number of people who've tried to stab me in the back over the years, some of whom have succeeded, I've got a little black book. I'm telling you, when the day of reckoning comes, you won't see me coming.
Well, don't worry, I'm still going to get my revenge on that April 1st prank that you played on me.
I'll see you coming because you're like a baby elephant creeping up on me.
Yeah,
anyway,
really.
it says almost half of those surveyed in a new poll claimed their brainwaves had been poached by co-workers to make themselves look good in front of the bosses. The poll of 1,000 managers and staff was commissioned by some guy here who's trying to find out how to make work more efficient. Results of the survey indicate that a significant proportion of the UK workforce feels very undervalued. Yeah, well, you know, that's your problem. Got to make yourself feel valued. Only 9% said they did the bare minimum, often because of lack of praise or engagement. The knock-on effect is that employees become reluctant to part with good ideas.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. I mean, that is the problem. Because one of the things, of course, that happens in many organisations is that somebody comes up with a really bad idea.
Yes.
So because he might be a bit high up on the old totem pole, nobody ever says it's a bad idea.
No, you pass the idea down.
Because you imagine in a football organisation, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you've got like a situation
you
like you had,
that player.
we talked about with David Moyes, right?
Yes.
Can you imagine all the kind of retribution that was being handed out there when somebody was like, whose idea was this? You know, whose idea was it to sack the backroom staff?
That's right, yeah.
Whose idea when it's Alex Ferguson's idea to bring David Moyes in? Can you imagine him walking away from that 100 miles an hour?
Well, he used to do the most ridiculous things in those days. Remember, two tabloid papers sent different teams to Spain to kidnap a donkey.
Yes.
That was being...
Well, everyone sent a team.
Everybody sent a team to kidnap the donkey.
Blackie the donkey,
Blackie the donkey, and in
this
the
was
end...
because there was a Spanish town where they
were going to throw him off the tower.
Yeah, they used to hoist the donkey up to the top of a sort of...
And then drop him off the tower.
Yeah, like a diving board.
That's
and then drop him off the tower. Into a swimming pool, though. They didn't kill the donkey.
I know, but it was all very cruel.
Yeah.
And I remember on the way back, one group of reporters actually kidnapped the donkey from a barn from another group of reporters.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was a running saga.
Yeah, absolutely right. We won't mention any names in that one either. Now, listen to this from Anthony, who's tweeted. He says, I love the qualifications Mr. Parry says you need to be a manager. 3 phones on your desk.
Yeah.
I nearly fell off the treadmill.
What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm telling you.
That's typical of you.
It is.
If you had more phones than the person next to you,
that's right.
You'd think that was some kind of
indication
of your power.
I called it the levers of power. On my desk, I had 2 computer screens, 3 phones, and a Rolex with a lot of false cards in it.
You mean a Rolodex?
Rolodex, that's right.
You have a Rolex as well if you want.
A Rolodex with a load of false
fake
cards
Rolodex.
in it. Well, I used to tell people, I used to say to somebody, I said, don't worry, I'll get on to Downing Street about that. Where's my Downing Street number? You know, and I mean, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely unbelievable. No, I once got promoted.
Of power,
I once got promoted to a job and they switched my phone off. So it automatically diverted. So anyone who tried to get hold of me couldn't get a hold of me. And it took me 2 weeks to work out that's what they'd done. Absolutely incredible. Sort of thing you would have done.
No. There were many ways to tell people...
Look at the time, by the way.
There are many ways to tell people their time is over. One of them switching your phone off.
Look at the light!
Look into the light, as the saying goes. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham, we're the 2 Mike. The exercise bike, by the way, have you managed to convince the rest of your family that you're not ever going to take delivery of it?
Yeah, sort of.
Have you?
Yeah, sort of, yeah. It was too big a machine and it was necessary. I'm going to have to lose a bit of weight in the near future.
Are you?
I've got a regular hospital checkup coming up.
Oh, yeah.
I won't pass it and they'll keep me in.
What, you mean they won't let you out?
No, they won't let me out.
Well, how are you going to do the show then?
Well,
I'll come there and do the show from the hospital bed if you like.
No, you won't, but you might get an emergency call from the hospital. I'm afraid if you...
Well, sorry, that's very irresponsible.
Well, it's not my fault.
I mean, we've got many commitments coming up over the summer. We've got a whole bunch of live shows that we're doing.
Yeah.
You're in here 4 nights a week. How's that going to work if you're being, kept hostage in a hospital?
Mate, have you got no sympathy for a
man
who
I'm not
has a heart?
No,
only 1/3 of my heart works.
No,
only 1/3 of my heart works, okay?
Yeah, I've heard that. Your responsibility to me is to turn up wherever we are. So whether we're in Newcastle, whether we're in Manchester, whether we're in Leeds, whether
even
we're
if
in
I'm
Bristol.
desperately sick?
I don't care.
Oh, you don't care?
No.
You don't have much compassion in your
No, I
life,
have no
do you?
compassion. No, I don't have any compassion. I've been accused of that many times. We have a business to run and places to go. People are depending on you showing up.
Yes.
So if you have to lose weight between now and whenever this hospital appointment is,
you're
going to have to do it.
Only a few pounds.
Well, you're going to have to do it.
But no,
I'll help you out with it if you like.
No, I have to go on treadmills and all that kind of stuff. And
cut back on the boxes of fish fingers.
No, because they're not fattening.
Of course they are. You eat a whole box of fish fingers. That's not good.
Well, don't eat, if you eat nothing else, like no potatoes and all that.
They're in batter.
Doesn't matter. Look, I want to talk to you about the reason we're playing that bicycle is I want to talk to you about scooters.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'm talking about motor scooters. Did you know...
Well, like those little Lambretta things.
Yeah, I suppose so. They used to be called mopeds. When I was a kid, was a sort of bike with an engine on it and 2 pedals, right? That was a moped.
Yeah.
But mopeds these days actually look more like a motorbike. They don't have pedals.
Have you seen those ones that have got 2 wheels at the front?
Oh, yeah, I've seen that, weird, yeah. And the little canopy across the top, keep you dry in the wet. But anyway, look, what I didn't know was that there's a regular business in mopeds, so they're junior bikes, 50cc engine, being stolen. And
I'm not surprised.
And by kids aged about 11 or 12, no joke.
Really?
And then, as gangs, they go around snatching bags and raiding jewellers' shops.
Yeah.
And we only see this occasionally when there's, like, £80,000 worth of jewellery nicked from it. But apparently it goes on all the time at market stalls and all sorts of things.
I mean, one of the things that goes on in sort of bad crime areas is that they use kids an awful lot because kids, of course, have no criminal responsibility.
Like
so
the Fagan
they can't really do anything to them, and a lot of... I mean, you see a lot of kids on push bikes as well, riding around. And many times I've read reports that a lot of these kids are being used as like drug couriers. So if the kids get caught,
even doing that,
if the kids get caught with drugs on them, there's nothing they can do about it.
And you know how dexterous kids are. So any kid who's 14 who's got his helmet on and is a big kid, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Could easily pass himself off as 16, which is the minimum age for riding around on a motorbike.
Also, I mean, the police have got enough going on, haven't they? To stop everybody on a moped.
But anyway, look, I was going to tell you. This reminded me of. Did you ever have a motorbike or a moped?
I never did. No, I mean the only motorbike experience I've ever really had was when I was at university. A couple of my mates used to have motorbikes, and I'd sit on the back going up the hill to the university. But it was so uncomfortable. I couldn't imagine any point in having one.
I never really had the urge. I always wanted to get a car, and I thought, well, I'm 17, I'll get a car, and I saved up and got a car. I was the first person in my group to get a car.
In your group?
Oh yeah, in my
your
group
peer
of mates.
Group.
That's right, yeah, because I worked harder than them. I earned more money than them. I was smart than the average
you were probably
bear.
stitching them up every 5
No, I
minutes
wasn't. No,
as well.
I was working in a petrol station
You've
at the
always been
weekends.
into some kind of weird money-making scheme, haven't you? From a young age. Yes, you have.
No, I haven't.
You had Krugerrands at the age of 9 or
yes,
something,
I did.
right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, when I drove a Corona pop wagon, I also took on all sorts of other things like potatoes,
and you
Christmas
used to flog
cards,
stuff
all
off
that
the
kind
back
of
of it,
stuff. I did, yeah,
black market deals and all that.
But anyway, look,
Shocking.
talking about the old motor scooter, you see, so I was quite smart like that. But my mate, he desperately wanted a motor scooter because he was a mod.
Oh yeah.
So he wanted a motor scooter. That
would have had to be like a Lambretta, wouldn't it?
That's
the Italian
right,
ones,
exactly. That eventually
the old hair dryers.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Pop, 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 a sewing machine we used to call it, and it used to have
and stick the RAF thing on it and all that.
Exactly, and he eventually wanted all these mirrors on the front and all that kind of stuff because him and his mates all wanted a bit.
Like quadrophenia.
That's right, like quadrophenia, and you put like an old RAF coat on, don't you?
Parker.
Around a Parker. No, it wasn't a Parker. Oh, Parker. Yeah, Parker. That's right. Yeah. Anyway, so anyway, one day he turns up at my house and he's got his bike. He's actually got it. I said, blimey, amazing, mate. Well done. Yeah, it's very, very good. And, the engine was running all that. He said, well, come on, jump on. And you didn't need a crash helmet in those days. Right. So the sense of freedom, I just had a pair of jeans on, a T-shirt, and we were going off to see Caroline Sargent. Who was a girl we both wanted to go out with.
Well, how do I know who she is?
Well, she was extremely glamorous.
Now you've given her name out as well.
That's all right, don't worry. Her father was an architect. She lived in a big house in the country, out near where Michael Owen has got his stables now, a place called Tattenhall, right, in Cheshire.
Yeah.
So, come on, we'll go and see her. So, and I thought she'd fall for me because I was more sophisticated. He went to the local secondary modern.
Right.
He was a bit of a yobbo, but he was about 4 inches taller than me and had long blowing blonde hair, and he looked good on a motorbike, what I mean, on a motor scooter, as we sort of.
And did he have his Parker on as well?
No, because it was summer, and we just literally had jeans and T-shirts on. But his flowing blonde hair, made him look, like Peter, what's his name, in an Easy Rider.
Oh yeah, Peter Fonda.
Peter Fonda, that's right. Yeah. So anyway, we get to the house. And he circles round a bit, and then there's a hill on the other side of the road. He says, we'll park up there.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you want to park up there for? And her father didn't really approve of us, but we thought, well, we'd show off with our new motor scooter.
A couple of local yobbos turning up on a Lambretta.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So he said, park it at the top of the hill. I said, what do you want to park it at the top of the hill for? He said, so we can start it when we come out, And I said, well, you start it with a key, don't you?
Yeah.
He said, well, I haven't got a key. I said, why haven't you got a key? He said, I only nicked it an hour ago.
He nicked it?
I said, what? Yeah, I was driving around on a stolen motorbike.
So you were an accessory after the fact.
I mean, if we'd have been stopped on the way out there by boom,
so this is yet another crime that you're confessing to.
My whole career could now be over.
Yeah.
I could have been branded a criminal at the age of 16.
Well, the number of crimes that you've actually admitted to in the last month alone would have had somebody kind of seriously looking into it. If there wasn't some kind of statute of limitations, the cops would be coming and dragging you out anyway.
It was disgraceful.
So did you refuse to go back on it then?
I thumbed my way home, like like old-fashioned. Got to the main road, up the country lane from our house on the main road, got the old thumber and had to thumb it home because there was no way I was going to get onto the stolen motorbike.
And how did it go with Caroline?
It went pretty well, actually.
Did it?
She was particularly impressed about a year later when I went off for my interview at Brasenose College, Oxford.
No, yeah.
She thought I was a brain box, and she was looking for a brain box. So
Well,
that
she
all
couldn't have
worked
been
out.
too bright then.
Hey?
She couldn't have been too bright. She
She
thought
was.
you were a brain box.
No, she went to good school. No, she was a girl of good breeding.
Yeah, but did you not tell her you didn't get in?
Well, I was sort of vague about it, you know what I mean? I said, well, they've given me a conditional acceptance.
No, so you lied, in other words.
No, conditional
you lied.
acceptance. No, I didn't lie.
Well, they didn't accept you, then, did they?
It should be good. At the time, you see, I was knocking around with the secretary, so there was a huge... no, what are you laughing at? Why are you laughing?
Well, because, I mean, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
No,
You've always been knocking around with the secretary.
Yeah, well, this wasn't a secretary who was my secretary. It was a girl who'd come out of college and done shorthand and all that and worked as a secretary in a lawyer's office.
No, yeah.
So she was sort of down market and Caroline was very up market, you see, and I was trying to do a balancing act between the two, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
They live separate lives,
Amazing.
really. Yeah.
Amazing.
I could take down market girl to the pub for a bit of, pie and chips at lunchtime and some beers, but Caroline I had to take to sort of a bit more sophisticated
A wine
place.
bar.
Yeah, sort of.
Well, they
that
didn't
sort
really
of
have
thing.
those in those
No,
days, did they?
bistros. We used to go to bistros.
Yeah, bistros were very much the thing
Yeah,
in the
it was.
70s, weren't
Yeah, they were, yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
let me
yeah.
read you this. You may
Okay.
not be at all surprised, but you may remember that this is the time of year the Sunday Times Rich List comes out,
Oh, right.
And Paul McCartney, apparently, is going to be named the richest musician living in this country. £730 million he's worth. Can you imagine that kind of money?
I thought he might be in the billionaire status now because he's been on that figure for a few years. You know. Mind you, he lost about 25 or 30. He had to give to Heather Mills. Didn't
Well,
he?
apparently his money has actually been boosted by his new wife, Nancy Chevelle.
She's the daughter of a trucker from America. A multi-millionaire trucker.
Who's got £150 million stake in her family's trucking business.
Yeah, that's right.
So
yeah,
he's actually his money's actually increased this time as opposed to decreasing like it did last time.
I mean, it is mind-boggling his money. With £750 million, even if you put that on deposit at 5%, you're making £35 million a year.
Right.
It's not bad, is it?
It's not, is it?
By the time you paid tax, you've still got $20 million a year. So it's good stuff.
It is. Lord Lloyd Webber is second with £650 million. U2 have a combined £431 million. To Elton John, £270 million. Mick Jagger, £225 million. I'm surprised that's not more than that, actually. And Keith Richard, £210 million.
You know the U2 one with Bono?
Yeah.
I thought it'd be much more than that because I'm certain I read in some business pages that they invested in a hedge fund.
Yeah.
Which grew from 20 million to over 600 million, because it was managed very well by some American entrepreneurs.
Yeah, right.
It's all very interesting now. I remember years ago seeing McCartney in an interview. He's a very clever man, Paul McCartney. He must be, really, for what he's done in life, apart from being a genius songwriter.
I mean, a lot of
singer.
people don't like him for ridiculous reasons, really. I think it's for the same reason they don't like David Beckham. But you can't in any way fault what he's done in his life.
No, you can't. But he was asked in this interview, he came out of this to do, and all that, the guy over the microphone, and he was only Paul McCartney in those days. He wasn't Sir Paul McCartney, and it was, Mr. McCartney, good to see you. Yeah, okay, how you doing? Yeah. Is it true? We just seen a report. Are you really the richest rock star in the world?
Yeah.
And all he said was, well, I don't know, really. I'm not sure how rich everybody else is. When I find out, I'll let you know. Cheeky bit of sort of Scouse banter, you know what I mean?
I saw a great picture, actually. I must show you, because...
Oh, yes.
I've
seen good pictures.
When I saw you, there's a thing on Facebook that somebody's kind of hooked me into, which is basically iconic pictures or something like that. And they posted one today. Which was the first time the Rolling Stones met the Beatles in 1963. When you look at
that's
that,
amazing.
Isn't that a great picture? Yeah. You can just see John Lennon. You can't really see. You saw a bit of George Harrison, but that's after some performance I think that the Stones did somewhere.
It's at the Crawdaddy Club.
Yeah.
Where was that? In
I don't
Soho?
know. I would imagine. Well, it might have been in Soho, or it might have been somewhere in America. No?
Yeah, I remember the Beatles and the Stones were knocking around in Soho at the same time because they'd come down to see their music publishers and all that. And they're walking down. What's the name of the street in Soho? Dean Street, something like that, yeah. And they bumped into each other, and the Stones, like Jagger and Richard, said, it's hopeless, we've just come out of a recording studio, we've run out of material and all that. And Paul McCartney said, oh, don't worry, I've got a song for you. Come on, I'll give you a song. And he gave them money. That's what I want. That's what I want.
Okay.
That's what I want. That's what I want.
That's song number 6.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But I mean, isn't that amazing when you look at that historically and all that kind of stuff?
Incredible.
Utterly amazing.
Absolutely amazing. Now, coming up, what will also
she
be
did all
amazing.
Right. Heather Mills, didn't she?
25 million, 4 years.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Yeah.
I'd have been married. I'd marry him for that. 4 years.
Going from a person who only had 1.5 legs to having 30 million.
legs.
Well, that's true. I'm not being rude. To go into 30 million quid is very good. Isn't it?
She had more than 1.5 legs.
No, she didn't. Her leg was ripped off at the knee by a motorcyclist policeman who was going to an emergency call. And it wasn't her fault. And I thought she did very well out of life afterwards.
Yeah, she
Good
certainly
for her.
did. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. Coming up next is Porky Vision on TalkSport.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
A terrific performance.
Turn of pace and eye for goal.
Shout about it.
Talk Sport.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the Two Mites. There will be a podcast coming out around about 6 or 7 hours from now. That music can only mean one thing, and it is, of course, time for Porky Vision, where Mr. Parry tells us what he's been watching this week, what's good, what's bad, what he doesn't think he should bother about. So what's the highlight of the week, Mr. Parry?
It must be the ending of Banished.
Banished.
Banished is the one where they all go to Australia, right? The penal colony and all that. First people who were, what do they used to call that when they sent them in ships to Australia? Transported.
Transported?
Was it transported?
I don't know.
No, it was something like that.
Well, you think there was another word for it?
There was another word for it. What was the word? You know,
well, they were convicts, weren't they? They were offered the chance to either go to prison in the UK,
that's right,
or to get on a boat and go and start a new life.
That's right. So you'll be, what do they used to call it? You'll be transported. You'll be. Well, there's a word for it, isn't there?
What about banished?
No, banished just means sent out the country. But it was, they're sent overseas. Anyway, the point of the story is that I was. You've been
in and out with this though, because at one point you liked it to begin with, and then you didn't like it.
No, I didn't quite like it at the end. But what happened was at the end, the very, very English major, right? It doesn't matter.
People might not
if
have
people
seen
haven't
it
seen the end of it, it's their fault, not mine.
Right.
The very, very English major has suddenly acquired one of the convict women as his own, and he's, you can see where it's heading.
Yeah, there was quite a lot of that sort of kind of behaviour going on, wasn't there?
There's a lot of rumpy-pumpy going on, believe me. And the problem was that this convict woman was the possession of a junior officer.
Yeah.
But a sergeant, so they told the sergeant, it's not yours anymore, it's mine, right? Okay, that's the way the things work.
Women were treated very badly.
That's right. Now,
like chattels.
Now one star, convict, right, beat up a soldier when he found that the soldier had imposed himself upon his wife, okay?
Yeah.
So for beating him up, he sentenced to death for hanging. And it's his mate who's got to hang him, because his mate wasn't hanged.
Oh, dear.
After volunteering to become the hangman for future hangings. You get the plot?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
So But
are they all living in some kind of commune then, or what?
It's a penal colony.
So where is it meant to be, like on the mainland of Australia? Or is it on Tasmania or somewhere?
It is literally, what's that famous bay?
Botany Bay?
Botany Bay. It's literally Botany Bay.
Oh, okay.
The waves are...
So there's nobody else there?
Splashing on the rocks. Well, there's a few Aborigines in the forest somewhere, but you never see them.
Well, they haven't got any central heating either, presumably.
Well, you never see an Aborigine. That's the strange thing. But anyway, what happens is...
Right.
So these two are mates. One's been sentenced to death. The other one was sentenced to death, but then volunteered to be the hangman, some time ago.
Yeah.
So the guy's got the noose on his neck, and he's standing there on the old, scaffolding.
Is this the final episode we're talking about?
Final episode. And then, so the governor comes up and says, "Executioner, step forward." And there's a few hundred of them there. Yeah. And all of a sudden, the guy who's getting hanged, his best mate steps forward, so I'm really sorry, but...
Oh, so he didn't know that was going to
No, he didn't know it was going to happen, so I volunteered to be the executioner. Yeah. So he pulls the old lever, boom, he goes down. Yeah. But the last scenes we saw were of the dead prisoner, being embalmed before they, throw him in the sea or something. Yeah. And the major showed his newly acquired wench his extreme brutality, because as they're about to hang the bloke, right, all the convicts said, "We're not watching this," and one of them shouted out, "Turn!" Right. So they all turned, because they're supposed to watch it so that they can see what will happen to them.
I see.
If they transgress.
This was their kind of demonstration of disobedience. Or whatever.
Exactly, their protest.
Yeah.
So the major decided to show his bird how tough he was. Yeah. He said, "You'll all turn back immediately, or I will take severe action."
Right.
So they didn't. So he sent the sergeant into the crowd and said, "Sergeant, put your hand on the shoulder of the man in front of you." He said, "Turn that man round. Turn round. Put a pistol to his head." He said, "I will count to 10, and if you haven't all turned round to watch the hanging by then, this man will be shot dead." Bang! He shot him dead after the count of 10.
Shocking.
But the guy didn't die, so he was...
I hope this is after the watershed, this show, is it?
Yeah, he was writhing on the floor. Right. He's like a wounded animal. So then the major says to the sergeant, and by the way, this is iron discipline because, you're obeying orders, but going around blowing people's heads off is quite harsh, really. It's not something I could do. And he says to the sergeant, right, put your hand on the shoulder of the man next to him, And at this point, the convicts give up and they all turn back again, but it showed that the major's running with an iron fist, okay?
Right.
But then they hang the guy, the prisoners have been curtailed, the hangman turns out to be the best mate of the guy who's just hanged, and then it ended.
Right.
And there's no conclusion.
Well, presumably they're going to have another series.
Well, I don't know, but it was a bit disappointing. But anyway.
All right.
Don't worry too much about that. The other one is really good, Ordinary Lies. That's great.
Ordinary Lies, you mentioned this last week. Yeah, I was going to, funny enough, I nearly watched it last weekend, but I didn't quite have enough time.
It's great. And the thing is, it's about individual people and how their whole lives are completely wrecked by one little lie.
By one thing, yeah.
But and this...
Well, as you've said often enough, I mean, if people had found out some of the things that you'd done at the time, perhaps your life would have been very different.
Tell me lies,
That's
tell me sweet
7,
little
right?
lies. What I was going to say is, the only thing wrong with this show is that first of all, they go to one particular scenario where this bloke has actually organised the theft of a car from the car dealership he works in. Because he's got to pay off his gambling bills, right? Yeah. And he's into all sorts of problems. You suddenly find out he's actually got a bastard child from a relationship that his wife doesn't know about, and that's why he needs the money to support 2 families and all that. But this time they switch on to the boss of the... This is a great line. This happens all the time. So the boss of the car dealership is having a sexual affair.
A sexual affair?
A sexual affair.
Well, not just an affair.
A rumpy-pumpy affair.
Full sex.
Full sex.
And all that.
With one of the women who works there.
Yeah.
But the reason he's doing it is because the woman who works there, 16 months ago, her husband walked out of her life and disappeared. He's a missing person, you see what I mean? Right. But she's very happy because he was a boring git. Right. And she didn't mind him going.
She hasn't killed him, really, has she?
No, she hasn't killed him at all. He's just gone.
You're not going to find that out at some point later?
No, because what happens is, far from killing him, the police from Maidstone in Kent, because this is based in the north of England, in Manchester, ring up and say, we found your husband. He was wandering around and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, right. So she has to be reunited with him?
She has to be reunited. She doesn't want to be reunited.
That's never good, is it?
It's never good.
That's a bit like Homeland's story, that. You've never seen Homeland,
No,
have
I've seen Homeland.
You should look at Homeland.
Yeah, OK. But anyway, so then... but she's having an affair with the boss, but the boss has already got a wife and 2 children anyway. Yeah. But the boss is married to the owner's daughter. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So the man who owns the franchise business, gave his daughter's husband the job as boss of it, and he's quite good at it, apparently. Yeah. So the big boss comes in and says, what are you doing, why aren't you behaving yourself in your marriage and all this kind of stuff, And he says, well, you've been married 3 times and all that, and all this kind of stuff. Can she take the missing husband back and all that kind of garbage, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then it gets all kind of very, very complicated because he then finds out that she is being rogered by the boss of the company. You see what I mean? I mean, to put it in, finally.
Yes.
And now it's all the kind
There's a lot going on in this show, isn't there?
There's a lot going on in the show. What happens next and all that kind of stuff. You see what I mean? Yeah. But I mean, that is a terrible situation to be in.
But didn't you say it was only like a very short series, this?
Well, I thought it was only 4, and the 4th one was tonight.
Oh, right.
But it can't possibly have ended because there's too many...
too many loose ends.
Now, listen, something I haven't seen, but which is brilliant, right? Yeah. It's called Avengers: Age of Ultron. Do you know about this?
That's a movie, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is, actually.
Yeah, that's the film that's just out. Funnily enough, I watched a terrible interview. Right. Krishnan Gurumurthy on Channel 4 News was sent to interview, the guy that plays Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, okay.
And Robert Downey Jr. got very uppity when he started asking him questions about his time in prison and his relationship with his dad. And he got up and walked out of the interview. Yeah. And actually, I mean, some people were like, oh, well, Robert Downey Jr. is a bit sort of up himself to do that. But I thought Krishnan Gurumurthy was awful. It was a really awkward thing to look at.
Yeah, well, I totally agree.
I mean, only surpassed, perhaps, by your impersonation of a film critic. We went to interview those guys from that movie. Do you remember the famous interview we did in the Soho Hotel?
I must admit, I didn't know who he was.
No, I know.
Who was it?
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell, that's right, yeah.
Mark Wahlberg. It
wasn't my fault.
But you then stepped up and started describing the film to him, which you hadn't seen.
No, that's
which was completely different to the actual reality of the film.
Well, it was the wrong film, wasn't it? But anyway...
He took it very well.
Yeah, you can make the mistake of that. Now, this is going to be the blockbuster of the year, Avengers Age of Ultron.
Well, hang on, this is not on TV, though.
No, but it doesn't matter. People want to know what...
Porky Vision on a movie.
OK, well, other things I've seen on TV this week.
Go on then, give us it. Go on. I mean, if you've been watching the trailer, then tell us about it.
No, it's OK, don't worry. The other things I've seen on TV this week are... I saw an episode of, what was it? Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, great. Have I told you about this before, The Streets of San Francisco?
What, you mean the show with Carl Malden and Michael Douglas?
Yeah, fantastic.
Well, it's a great show, but it's very old.
Have I told our listeners about this yet?
No, I don't think you have, no.
Utterly brilliant. A young Michael
you must have
Douglas.
seen it like 30, 40 years ago.
I love watching these again. Do you know why? Because the sort of American cars you see in San Francisco 30, 40 years ago.
Massive cars.
Utterly brilliant. Yeah. Utterly love it, you know what I mean? And Michael Douglas, so smooth and so suave. And
he was great, yeah.
And
Carl Malden had the biggest nose in Hollywood, didn't he?
Yeah, and also, who did Carl Malden go on to play? Some nutty priest or something, didn't he, in a series
was
later?
he in The Exorcist, maybe?
Exorcist, was
he
in
that? I don't know. He was in a lot of old Hollywood
But anyway,
movies.
it was really great, and it was full of sort of Dirty Harry type plots. You know, the villain was always sort of a mad nutter, you know. And,
well, Dirty Harry was shot in San Francisco.
Yeah,
as well,
of course it was, yeah. Michael Douglas always found it was. And then I saw another one, and it was a period one, and I love the cars in it, and I'm trying to remember what it was now. What would it have been? It would have been
Cannon.
Oh, I tell you what's coming back soon.
What?
One of my favourite shows of all
Starsky and
time.
Hutch?
No, Inspector George Gently.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a new show, and it's coming back, but it is.
No, well, yeah, I saw the cover of the Radio Times this week.
It's fantastic. It's based in like 1960s Geordieland.
Yeah, right.
Whoa, Bonnie Lass. Oh, talking about Geordieland.
Yeah.
I think we found a theatre in Newcastle where
finally,
we can take a Two Mics live show.
Splendid.
More info before the end of the week, okay?
Splendid.
That'll be in July.
Good stuff. Now, I've got a couple of tweets for you.
I haven't finished yet.
Sorry, I thought you were all done.
No, I was going to say, Inspector George Gently coming back. Love it all. Very good. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, well, is that it then?
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Well, what, you said that was your finishing
line?
Well,
I've cut it short because you
interrupted. You haven't cut it
interrupted.
short because we run out of time. Now, a couple of people have written in to say you're mistaken about that Beatles analogy you were giving out earlier. Eddie from Hamilton's one of them. He's texted into 1889. He says the Beatles gave the Stones "I Want to Be Your Man."
That's it. I want to be your man.
They didn't write Money. It was a cover.
That's right. Absolutely right.
And here's another one from somebody who says Lee here. Porky's Beatles knowledge is woeful.
What?
Lennon and McCartney gave the Rolling Stones "I Want to Be Your Man."
Thank you.
Not the song "Money." That wasn't theirs to give.
Money.
And Terry says, Mike, Porky's idea of upmarket was a Bernie in and a bottle of Blue Nun.
Actually,
Nothing changes.
Actually, it was.
Yeah.
It was a Bernie in.
You've seen the time,
and it was Blue Nun. And
Matthias Rosé.
And the great thing about it was, guess what you used to have as a starter? Go on, guess.
Prawn cocktail.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely
it's
right.
the only one to have.
Fantastico.
Excellent stuff. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. That was Porky Vision. Thinking that song, don't you?
That's Red Wine was Christopher.
No, it wasn't Christopher. It was UB40.
UB40?
Yeah.
Oh, was it? I
from
thought it was Christopher. Right, OK, UB40 from Birmingham.
I'm pretty sure he didn't ever do that.
Peaky Blinders territory, that.
Yeah,
no, he didn't. I just thought... No, he did Who's the Girl in the Red Dress. No, he didn't. No, that was
Lady in Red,
Stardust.
he did.
Lady in Red, that's what I knew that, yeah. Right, now then, let me tell you this. The reason I asked that song to be played was that I found out, in addition to describe yourself as country squire, which you did to me...
I did not describe myself as that.
Yes, you did.
No,
Don't you lie to me.
I would never, ever say that.
I said to you I see you going down. You're going down to see the family this weekend.
I said I like being in the country.
You said I like playing the country squire.
No, I did not. Rubbish.
You did.
No. That's
I
just
tell you,
another.
you continue to deny that.
Yeah.
I will.
What will you do?
I will endorse.
Ring David Ginola and get him to endorse what you said or something.
I will endorse the fact that you are a barefaced liar. And remind the audience of that on a regular basis.
I think pots and kettle come to mind. By the way, how about this from someone who doesn't give a name, unfortunately? Carl Malden was the priest in On the Waterfront, which is the Marlon Brando
There you
film.
go. Didn't I say he played a priest? You see, I've got a great memory. So what I was going to say was, you've already admitted that you like the country squire bit. Now you go on
I like
to me.
being in the country. What's wrong
Excuse
with
me.
that?
You go on to me about being, a bit of a snob with a housekeeper and looking down on lowly,
having
poorly paid
having
people,
a dressing room
and all that.
Not liking to go to sort of, what you would regard as down market restaurants.
How come I've just discovered this evening that you've now taken to the fact that you are too special and too important a person to go into Tesco's anymore and buy wine?
Well,
you now have it delivered by a vintner's to your house by the case.
That's true, yeah.
Do you?
Yes, I have started doing that.
And you call me a ponce.
Well, no, it's nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with that. It's to do with the fact that actually it makes much more sense, right, to do it that way. Second of all, I don't know whether you've been paying attention.
To have another man delivering your wine to your house?
Yeah,
I couldn't allow that.
Well, don't you get things delivered to your house?
I get my housekeeper to sort things out.
It's like the pyramids round at your place. You've got about 100 slaves working on your roof garden, right? Who you won't allow into your home to make tea for.
No.
All I've done is decided that I've found a particular wine shop of which there's one in Borough Market, and they deliver basically for free if you buy enough wine. And it means that you can actually get some very, very good wine.
Yes.
Because in most supermarkets, they will sell you a pup, as we've been seeing over the last few weeks, where, these so-called big offers,
pup? What do you mean by that?
Well, there's a particular white wine that I sometimes get, which is normally $9.99, right? And I never buy it when it's $9.99.
I wouldn't pay $9.99 for a
neither
bottle
would
of
I.
wine.
And about every month or so they reduce it down to $4.99, which is about what it's worth, right? But it's not ever worth $9.99. Now, this particular place that I use, I'm not going to give the name out.
You get cheap.
If they sell you a bottle of £9.99 wine, it's very, very good and it's worth having, So I've actually bought, but what I've found is I've found this fantastic stuff, which is Rosado, right? And it's called Hacienda de Luna Muscatel, and it's a Spanish sort of slightly sparkling.
I can't stand Rioja.
It's not Rioja.
I can't stand Rioja.
When did I say Rioja?
Spanish wine is Rioja.
No, it isn't.
It is.
This is a rosé.
All Spanish wine is Rioja.
No, all Spanish wine is not Rioja.
It is.
It isn't. This
Anyway,
is
go on.
very, very lightly sparkling wine, which I drink sometimes when I go to northern Spain. And I've bought it for a case of it for $3.99 a bottle. It's got a slight amount of effervescence.
What colour is it?
It's rosé. I've told you. You're not listening, are you?
Rosé.
And it's got a slight amount
A, I don't like rosé. B, I don't like fizzy wine. C, I can't stand Spanish wine.
If you've ever been to,
if you said that to me, I'd wash my car with it.
Well, yeah, that's not even your quote.
No, it's not.
You've stolen it.
No, well,
now,
that's all right.
the point about this stuff is that if it's sitting in the garden in, sort of 80 degrees heat, you have a glass of this with ice, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I've paid $3.99 for it. For a bottle, so I think it's a bargain, and I'm not ashamed at all to have it delivered to my house. People have things delivered to their house all the time.
I don't mind paying. I don't mind buying cheap wine if it tastes okay.
You drink any old rubbish.
Yes, I would actually.
Your palate, right?
Yeah.
Is like a dustbin.
Yeah, it is.
You
I
eat
don't
food which you don't even know how to taste, right? You drink anything.
What do you mean I don't know how to taste?
Well, I mean, you have no.
You've got a tongue and a palate. You taste everything.
Yeah, but you have no palate for interesting food.
I made myself a really nice green pea and ham mixed soup today.
Did you?
Yes.
Well, how did you make that?
Well, I got it out of a plastic container from Tesco's. But I mean, what I'm saying is.
Well, you put it in a bowl and put it in the microwave.
No.
You put it in a pot.
Put it in a pan, and I added
a pan.
I added
some lean ham.
Yeah, I did. I got some lean ham and chopped it up. I did. I had a packet of lean ham in the fridge, so I chopped that up.
Do you know what I made today?
Put that in. I know what you made. Couscous.
Couscous.
Yeah,
couscous.
Right.
You're making me say it ridiculously now.
Yeah. And
so you got one of those cartons of soup?
No, one carton. It was a see-through plastic one, so it looked lovely like this.
See-through plastic
carton.
Really?
Well, a carton is like a milk carton.
Yeah, like a milk carton. No.
This was a circular see-through, container.
Right.
And
I mean, pea and ham soup is very good.
Yeah, exactly. Looked good. So I put more ham in.
Right.
I put more peas in.
Right.
So I chopped up a packet of lean ham.
Right.
I got a tin of peas.
Yeah.
I got some mushrooms.
Yeah.
And I got a tin of meat.
A tin of meat?
Yeah, and I put it all in.
What, you mean as well as the ham?
Yes.
Well, what sort of meat?
Mincemeat.
Mincemeat?
Yeah.
You put mincemeat in?
Yeah. To add some sort of add some sort of body to it. And that's right. And I stirred it a lot.
It's like something you'd eat during the war.
No. And I had it with a piece of fresh, crusty bread.
Yeah.
It was great.
Well, did it have a soupy kind of texture, or was it now
it was
solid?
Soup. It was soup, wasn't it?
So you made basically mince soup?
Yeah. No,
did?
Sort of. Yeah,
you made
sort
mince
of. Yeah,
soup.
but it's very nice. I mean, it's great. Honestly,
That's horrendous.
Really good. No, not horrendous.
I mean, you shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a kitchen.
No,
a lot of people, by the way, are still asking when we're going to have this cook-off. I think we should definitely do it.
I can't be.
But not in the way. But not in. I don't want to do it in a sense of showing you up. I don't want to do it in the sense of.
You wouldn't show me up. I can't be bothered getting into something like that.
But I want to teach you how to cook properly because I don't think you eat properly enough.
To be honest,
I made this dish that I make quite frequently with this couscous, which is the large couscous, not the small couscous. I put garlic. Fry a little garlic in olive oil. I put some parsley in it. I put some
stupid name for food.
Some chili. I put some. I cut up a pepper and put that in. I then put some lemon juice in it. Right.
Yes.
And then put some chorizo in it. Then I put some chicken in it. Right.
Yes.
And put some paprika in it, and then put some of this sort of Moroccan spice in it. You're not even listening. You don't care,
am listening,
and it's delicious.
Yeah,
and it's absolutely delicious. I mean, what I don't do is
I couldn't stand all that spicy food.
A can of stuff and put a load of things in together.
Yeah.
And then just hope for the best.
You see, the problem is with spicy food like that, it would play up my ulcers. And I've got to be very, very careful, with the old ulcers, because the ulcers also put pressure on the heart. And you know all about the heart. I'm not going to repeat the statistics about my heart. You know all about them.
I do.
Guess what I've just discovered looking on through my information machine?
What have you just discovered?
You know those figures you told me about Sir Paul McCartney?
Oh, yeah.
Rich List, 730, absolutely right there. And it goes on about Pete Townsend, Barry Gibb,
Yeah.
Bee Gees. You know, so many people in the. But what about this one? You might know this guy. A Scottish DJ who started with nothing has joined the rich list with
Calvin Harris.
£70 million fortune.
Calvin Harris, yes.
No, Adam Richard Wiles.
Adam Richard Wiles?
Adam Richard Wiles was stocking supermarket shelves in Dumfries and dreaming of becoming a DJ. Little could he have known that he would one day be richer than the musical legends from Led Zeppelin to the Bee Gees. He's now known across the globe as Calvin Harris. Is that what you said?
That's what I said.
Right, well, that's not his real name. It's Adam Richard Wiles.
What difference does that make?
Is reported to earn up to $1 million a night.
He does.
Well, what does he do?
Well, he's what you now. I mean, you would call him a DJ, but he basically mixes different sounds.
But I mean,
he puts out
this
albums.
is rubbish.
He's the first guy, in fact, I think, who had something like 4 albums in the top 10 at the same time.
How can a DJ have an album?
He actually beat the Beatles.
He's just taking other people's music, isn't he?
Well, not quite, because you're also
what
creating.
Do?
Well,
what is this mixing thing?
He
creates.
Fatboy
Slim does that.
Fatboy Slim does it, yeah. But I mean, he's still creating music. It's not just that he may steal a bit from here and a bit from there. Sample something here and there, but basically he's making music, but not making it with any instruments. You can do it on a. You can do it actually. I can make music on this iPad here.
Yeah, well, go on then.
Which I'll do. Well, I'll do for you one night.
Yeah, okay.
There's an app on here called GarageBand,
right?
And I could just play anything you like. I could turn it into an organ, turn it into an electric guitar.
I mean, if he's literally getting paid $1 million a night as a DJ, I could do that. All you got to do is
could not do
change the discs every 3 minutes.
You couldn't
simple.
do it.
When you used to go to discos, you know, when I was about 16 or 17, everybody wanted to be the DJ, you know what I mean? And you used to suck up to the DJ and say, oh, listen, man, next time you're out on the road, can I come with you? And all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean?
Right.
My mate did that, and he became a full-time DJ. You could do it in those days, because what you had to do is you had to acquire a box of about 500 records. What's that?
That's how it starts.
What's this?
There you go, I was just making a song for you.
Well, I don't know what you're doing.
I'm just making a song for you on my iPad.
Well, where's that music coming from?
I'm playing an organ.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, look.
Stop playing. No, stop playing again.
That's the drum.
That's absolutely amazing.
Isn't it?
That's a keyboard on your laptop.
Yeah, 2015.
On your tablet.
Are you a Time Lord?
That's incredible.
It's like showing a camera to the old Navajo, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's amazing. It is amazing.
There you go. Would you like to hear some real Calvin Harris?
I suppose so, if you've got it.
We have got a little bit.
In fact, Fatboy Slim, amazing guy, amazing. He's married to Zoe Ball, isn't he?
That's right, yeah.
But amazing guy because...
Big house in Brighton.
Yeah, I think it's more than Brighton. I think it's the exclusive enclave where we talked about Paul McCartney earlier. He used to live with Heather Mills.
Yeah.
And it's more Hove, isn't it?
Yes, I think it is.
Hove, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you come from Brighton?
Yes.
Hove, actually.
Yeah, apparently he's got one of those great big smiley faces on his roof.
Oh,
which you can only see from a helicopter.
Who's that? Fatboy Slim. Anyway, the point is, I read some interview about him, because he had a bit of a marital problem with old Zoe.
Yeah.
And he said, I only work these days for the joy of it. He said, I stopped leading the money many years ago. And I thought, he's just comfortable. Then I read that before Brighton's, renaissance and they got a new ground and all that, he'd given them £8 million.
Yeah.
That's his local team.
I know.
I mean, where did he get £8 million from?
He's very successul.
Unbelievable.
Now, you've forgotten, haven't you, because it's St George's Day, and we're going to go out with a little song, so you haven't got very much time.
Right.
But if you can do it...
very quickly.
It is...
Let's have the music.
We'll wish everybody a very happy St George's Day. Look out for the...
Ride with me.
Hang on.
First falls
what, are you going to sing now?
Eventide. Oh, right, okay.
Oh, is that it?
I'll wait for it to go again. Right, go on.
You're gonna wait for the intro, aren't you?
That is the intro.
No, it's not.
Okay, go on.
All right, go on. I'll try again. There you go.
Well, you told me that was going to be an intro.
Well, it's meant to be. I don't know what they're doing.
That's the song. Yeah, I'll come to
go on,
these lines.
Start again, yeah. We'll just sing the chorus.
When other helpers fail and comforts flee.
Yeah, all right. That's it then. We've got to get to the news now. We're out of time. We're out of time. For God's sake. Look at the time. Look at the time. It is St George's Day. Mr. Parry will be back tonight, of course, for the Porky Quiz, which is on the Industrial Revolution. We'll see whether he cheats this time and gets more than 2 out of 10.
I'll tell you what we're going to do.
We're going to video it.
We are.
Don't forget to follow the Two Mics, at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV.
This man's got 3 names. Hernandez, Chikorito, is it, on the back of his shirt?
Yeah.
But he's known as Little P
Little
in English.
P, yeah.
Hey, Ryan 10 Dochat